Afternoon. My name is Kimberly Jackson. I'm a Senior Regional Director at PPL. It is my honor and pleasure to facilitate this session titled The Role of the Support Coordinator in the Self-Direction Process. We have support coordination agency representation from Bridges Support Coordination, Neighbours Inc., and Values into Action. I'll offer brief introductions of each. First, we have Josh. First, we have Josh Godwin, my apologies, representing Bridges Support Coordination LLC. Josh is the executive director of Bridges, which is based in New Jersey and has a large focus in Hunterdon and Warren counties. At Bridges, they are dedicated to assisting participants in discovering services and supports that maximize the potential of those they care about. They'll work with participants and their families in writing their ISPs, as well as coordinate and monitor the plans and services. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you.
Secondly, we have Sherry Oakley representing Neighbours Inc. Sherry is the executive director of support coordination. Neighbours is one of the original 3 support coordinator agencies in New Jersey, and their vision is that people with disabilities are living, loving, learning, working, and playing as valued citizens who contribute to and receive the benefits of belonging to the communities where they live. Cherry, thank you so much for joining. And last, we have Marian Salino representing Values into Action. Values into Action is also one of the original 3 support coordinator agencies in New Jersey, and they have been providing support in partnership with people with disabilities and their families since 2007. Marian is a co-founder and executive director of Values in Action, as well as a board chair for the Alliance for Citizen-Directed Supports and a board chair for the Collaborative for Citizen-Directed Supports of New Jersey. Marian, thank you so much for joining. Let's just jump right into our session. At PPL, we are well aware of the extreme importance and need and the contact that our support coordinator agencies have with participants in the varied self-direction programs in the state. So I want to just make sure we kind of level set with all of our attendees and ask, what is the role of a support coordinator when working with individuals and families who are self-directing at least one of their waiver services? Cherry, you want to start that one?
Sure. When you think about support coordination, support coordination should be able to hold the space to be able to sit and listen to your story, to help you vision for your life, and to answer that question that when people are sitting around at the end and they're drinking tea and eating scones and thinking about who you were while you were here on this earth, helping you to be able to articulate what is the answer to that question, and then to lay out what are the steps you need to take to get to where you need to go, and how you're writing that story, and then to break up and figure out what are the supports you need to take those steps to get to where you want to be. So in essence, that's what your support coordinator does, helping you to vision, helping you to plan, helping you to connect to resources within your community to really bring your life forward, that as you're defining it. And then to check in with you every so often to make sure that you stay in hot pursuit of what it is that you are indicating that you're wanting for your life.
Thank you. Josh or Marian, did you want to add anything?
No, I mean, I think that covers most of it. That covers all of it, actually. Everything I was going to say just a little more eloquently. Yeah, I always look at it as, support coordinators are sort of educators in a lot of ways, right? We're the ones that are sort of ingrained in a lot of this stuff, division wise and coming down. So it's a lot of our role I've always viewed is, more of an educational piece in helping families, understand what's out there and what they can do, what's possible, which is pretty much anything if you really, figure out how to work around the system and work outside of the system. So that's how I've always viewed it.
You,
Uh,
Josh?
I would totally, yeah, I agree with both, and perhaps add just that I think there's a translation piece that the support coordinator does in terms of understanding the vision and holding that with the utmost respect and regard, and then being able to translate that in a way that the system understands, so that those public funds can be accessed and used. Cherry, I love it already. 2 minutes in, I'm already like, yay. In hot pursuit of the person's aspirations and their goals.
Thank you, Marion. So, does a participant select their own support coordinator agency? And if so, at what point in the process? Marion, you want to take that one for starters?
Sure. Well, it's really the first thing that has to happen, because as Josh said, the coordinator position is really a necessary component. Like, everybody has to have a support coordinator if you are going to access, waiver, home and community-based services waiver funds. The other services that you choose, but the support coordination service you must have, because we really help you to navigate a very complex system of services and support. So it's one of the first things that a person does. And in New Jersey, there's a list of all of the support coordination agencies who are currently qualified to provide the service. It is in alphabetical order. So I just want to add that we continue to ask the division to consider revising how that's done, because I can't imagine how overwhelming it must feel for a self-advocate or a family member. While it's great that they have the authority to choose, it's a daunting task to look at over 100 different organizations and try to figure out, do they work in my county? Do they, so it's not easy, but that listing being in alphabetical order, agencies that begin with the letter A, I would bet may have greater exposure than those of us at the end. But either way, it's a good thing that people get to choose the agency, and then hopefully within that agency, if they're satisfied with their support coordinator, great, and if they're not, hopefully they're supported to be able to choose from among somebody else, other people.
I would add to that, of course, when people are kind of new to this, because you make your selection of your support coordination agency at the very, very beginning, before you're writing your plan. You're sitting down and having a conversation with anybody. You're expressing to people what it is that you're actually wanting to do with your life. And if you're looking at that list of 144 support coordination agencies, and the Bog Center does have on their website a document that's supposed to help you navigate it, but it can still, choosing between 144, 80, 20 is still a lot of legwork to do. That, if you're somebody who's just like, I just need anybody, just give me anybody. There is an option to be able to ask the roulette wheel to pick somebody for you. They call it auto assignment. So if you don't know who it is that you would like, if you haven't spoken with other people and said, hey, who's good out there? Who do I want to, connect with? Who do you think would be a good match? If you don't want to make all the phone calls to kind of individually vet each support coordination agency you might be considering, they do have an auto assignment that can just give you somebody that you could try out. And the good thing is that you're never stuck. So if you start a relationship with a support coordination agency and it just doesn't seem like it's working out, you have the ability at the beginning of each month to switch and change as you learn more, experience more, and see how different support coordination agencies might be working and functioning in your community.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry. How does the support coordinator ensure they are meeting the needs of the participant and the family? I'll let it open. Who wants to jump in first?
So I'll jump in. So by requirement, right? So we're required to have contact with family so often, right? Every month we have to have a monthly contact, quarterly visits every 3 months, once annually in the home. But and those, meet requirements, but they might not really meet the requirements of the family, or what's really going on in the person's life. So, just continuous contact with the family, and person supported, will really ensure that things are going on that the way that they need to. Again, meeting requirements by DDD Medicaid is necessary, but more frequent contact visits, especially in the beginning, I think, or when services or when the person's exploring what they want to do or where they want to go or who they want to be or whatever the situation is, the more contact that we as agencies and coordinators have with the family, and the person supported, the better.
Thank you. Thanks, Josh. Marion or Cherry, did you want to add anything?
I just add an amen. That's that is pretty much having the continuous conversation, making sure that you're listening. The practical reality is that we're all human beings, and there are a lot of times when we don't get it right. But if we can stay in conversation and keep talking to one another, we each have a chance to be able to say, "Hey, I think this is what I heard," or "Am I doing what it is that you're looking to have done?" Or "You seem to be mad at me all the time. Like, what's going on?" And you have that conversation. You have the chance to be able to explore, well, whether you are supporting a person in the way in which that person is looking for, and you have a chance to course correct, if you're not, if you're having that ongoing conversation and people can tell you. And there's a lot of times too, people try various things out. Like Josh was saying, if somebody's exploring and you think you want something, or you think that you want something in a particular way, and then you try it out, and we all know it goes like horribly, horribly wrong. Like the first time that somebody offers you Brussels sprouts and you're thinking, looks adorable. I love mini cabbage. I love mini food. And then you put it in your mouth and you're just like, really? So, you keep talking about it. You can find that Brussels sprouts can indeed be cooked in a delicious way. And so you can change your mind or learn various things about what you do want and you don't want, and how you do want to be supported and how you don't. And you really can only get there if we can keep talking and sharing and trust one another, that we're all headed for the best.
I would agree with that too. I love the food references too. It's making me hungry, but yeah. I don't know for Brussels sprouts, but I love that. Love that example. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the trust is so important, because I think so often in this system, it's about, we got to get it right. We got to get it right. And I don't know about anybody else's life, but rarely do we just get it right on the first try. And it's often, for many of us, we try things and it's like, well, I'll never do that again, right? Well, that's just as important a decision as when we love the thing the first time we try it. And so I think for support coordinators, yes, there's the compliance aspect, the monitoring tool. There's things that have to be done, and for good reason. And so I think it's really about, how do we best support the support coordinators to feel like, and outside of those bounds, it really is about, building that trusting relationship. So the difficult conversations that are going to have to be had are done in a way where there is trust. And if somebody does get mad at us, we hopefully overcome that, and we move on with respect and honoring the person's decision. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Marion. This is a good one. I'm sure someone will want to speak to. What is the difference in the role of the support broker and the role of the support coordinator? Because there
Marion,
are two different roles in two different spaces. So if any of you could elaborate.
I say Marion has a really great answer for this.
Oh, thanks for the vote of confidence. I hope I do. I talk about it often enough. But I mean, I think that the role of the supports broker is to really support the self-directed aspects of a person's life and of their support system. So again, quality of the relationship is important, but the broker's role is not all encompassing. And I'll go back to, again, just the way Josh described the support coordinator. That role is all encompassing, even though we may not do a deep dive. We are responsible for helping that person and helping that family navigate through. So it's essential that the support broker, as we say, stay in their lane and we stay in our lane, because then we can really help the person produce the outcomes that they want. So the support coordinator, everything around the individual support plan, the waiver services, and particularly, those that are agency managed. And then the self-directed services, yes, the support coordinator needs to be educating the person on the aspects of the self-directed system, and the fact that they can use a broker to help them manage the services they're self-directing. I'm sure Josh and Sherry have just as important things to share with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really summed it up. I always viewed the support broker as again, the person that is in the life of the person that we're working for, to help them remain self-directed, for the longevity, right? So I've heard a lot of times with families and people supported that they will self-direct until the parents are gone, or until there's no other option, quote unquote. But the role of the support broker is really to get in there and make that a possibility for them to continue self-directing for the long haul, past the expectancy of the family, or past the life of the family, or other people involved.
Thank you. Who absorbs the cost of support coordinators? Does it come out of an individual's budget, or is there an expectation for the participant and or their family to pay the fees?
There is not. All the support coordination agencies in New Jersey are Medicaid approved providers. So for each person that chooses us, we get what's called a prior authorization, and that prior authorization allows us to bill Medicaid for the support we provide 1 month at a time. So it does not come out of the person's individual budget.
Thank you, Sherry. I'd like to ask each of you to share a story of success that your clients have had when utilizing self-directed services. Let's start. Josh, would you like to start?
Sure. So I've been thinking about this one because there's a couple different ones that I really like, right? But I'm going to tell the story of a young man that we started supporting fresh out of high school, and he's got a lot of needs. He's got a lot of different needs. A lot of need with self-care, no verbal communication. He still gets his needs met and his desires understood by those around him. But we came together as a planning team. It was myself, his coordinator at the time, who still is coordinator. This was 4 years ago. Family. There was somebody actually from his school there. And we talked about basically what he wanted to do, right? What his vision was in life, right? Like Cherry, you talked about that a little while ago. Where does he want to go? What does he want to do? From that point, we found out that he really, really, really likes anime and cartoon, not cartoon, but comic books and stuff of that nature. And he's like super, super, super ingrained into the comic book world. And his goal and his dream was to, and still is, to manage a company where he's, in charge of everything, doing comic books in whatever way that looked like. So as a team, we got involved and we helped him find some of those resources. He got connected to somebody that was helping him with some creative writing, so he can actually write his comic books. We had somebody else in place as an artist, so he could relay what he visualized his characters to look like, and they would help him draw them. Long story short, he's coming out with his second comic book. He's already come out with his first one. He had a I think it was a self-directed person through his budget. And then he also has some other agency staff that was helping him. They've partnered with a local comic book store, and the comic book store is actually helping him market and advertise and sell his stuff. So that's one of my favorite stories, just because it kind of encompasses everything that we've been talking about today. So
Thank you so much for sharing, Josh. And I'm flattered that you have multiples to choose from because there are so many great success stories out here, right? So let's go to Cherry. Let's do you.
So I was thinking about this question as well. Just kind of as a practice as an organization, typically we like the person with lived experience to tell their own story because everybody's story is so different and so individualized. And so what I'm going to do is a little bit adjacent to this. I can talk about what people have been able to do that we've, in the length of time we've been supporting people since 2005 to self-direct. And I'm going to share with you just some of the things that we've been able to see happen in people's lives as a result. We've seen somebody be able to start taking acting classes, and so that they eventually were able to go and audition for a Broadway play. It was like a lifelong dream of theirs. Several people that have become published authors that are publishing not only 1, 2, 3, but a series of books, be able to illustrate books and have those things published. Been able to reunite with best friends who they spent most of their childhood together, but they live counties apart, but been able to rekindle that and connect. They have been able to see people discover that they're artists and poets, and have been able to become active parts of juried art exhibitions in the local galleries, and some folks who've even won some awards. People have been able to learn how to drive so they could do their mom's grocery shopping, which I personally like and would like for my daughters to do the same. We've got a couple folks who have been able to live their dream to become a volunteer firefighter and have been able to be active on the local squad. People have been able to design their own supports in such a different way that we have one gentleman been able to eliminate 4 of his 6 psychotropic medications he was on because there was such an adjustment into the way in which he was able to approach and design his own support. Someone that's been able to become a point of light as a volunteer in their local community. And volunteer at the local theater and food pantries and animal rescues. People being someone who was able to be supported to create their own walkathon so they could raise money for a charity of their that was close to their heart. We have supported people to save and purchase their own condo and their own place to be able to live. We have supported people to move out of their group homes and into a place of their own. And several people to move closer to siblings whom they were separated from as children and to rekindle that familial relationship. So those are a few things that people have been able to do.
More than a few. Look at the diversity in the successes that folks have been able to do, which is actually just overwhelming, but just very joyful to be able to hear that folks are doing so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Marian.
Yeah, so our team just gave multiple stories as well. I like the way you set that up, Cherry. It's just amazing. And Josh, you too. It's I love using the little reaction button. So I was like, yay, so cool. So one of the stories that was shared that I thought that I would share because it just really kind of got me was I'll just describe this woman as being a mature woman. I won't disclose her age, but she is mature and was finally able to move into her own apartment. And she identifies as having a hearing impairment. So she had formerly used traditional agency managed services and it didn't work out well. And I'm sure there was best intentions all around. And we were able to talk with her about self-direction. And she and her circle, agreed, and they actually chose the vendor fiscal employer model, so they use PPL. And the broker has helped with recruiting staff, and one of her main team members has a hearing impairment also. So when they work together, the SDE, the self-directed employee, is actually able to speak using language that this woman understands as a person who's hearing impaired. And for the longest time, she didn't really appear to be interested, and nor was really supported to find places in her neighborhood where she could explore, right? We talk about trying stuff out. And she was able to, with this team member who was also hearing impaired, and the support coordinator, find a place in the community called Say It with Clay. And she's an artist at heart, and has finally been able to go there, become part of the community, because there's people who
Awesome.
go there often and complete
Yeah.
projects. And just live a life of her own design, which I think is the common theme here. And when
Right.
people are enabled to express themselves, it's good things can happen. And so, yeah, that's one of many, many stories of people really using self-direction successfully, not always perfectly, right? There's the ups and the downs and the challenges, but again, a life of their own choosing.
Thank you so much, Marion. Appreciate it. Actually, Josh, Cherry, and Marion, I want to thank all of you for joining today's session. We have a couple of minutes left, and there have been a couple of questions. So if we can answer these briefly, and if we are not able to get to any questions, we will make sure to grab those questions and get back to individual responses after the session has ended. But one of the questions was, would you be able to request a support broker from the support coordinator agency? And also, can you self-direct with a traditional agency? So,
If I
depending.
understand, I'm sorry, I think I can take the first one, Cherry, Josh, and then you either correct me or jump in. But I think if the question is, does the support coordinator make the referral to a supports brokerage, that would be an agency that's qualified to provide the support brokerage service, then yes. But if the question is, can somebody who is working as a support coordinator be that person's supports broker? The answer would be no. The supports brokerage service, as well as the support coordination service, must be conflict free. So we can't, if we're providing support coordination service to a person, we can't provide any other waiver service to them. We can provide other waiver services, just not to the same person. And it would be the same with the supports brokerage service. So hopefully I understood that question, Cherry, and Josh, please, if you understood it differently, jump in.
There's one
Yeah.
more question. I think we can take one more. Thanks for all being here today. Having worked with two different support coordinators, I wish my coordinators came to us with a menu of local activities and enrichment opportunities for us to select from. They just put that comment out there. So I don't know if that's something that
So,
support coordinator would do or not do, but
so yes and no. Here's the reason why support coordination doesn't come to you and say, here's a menu, tell me, do you want one of one, two of three, etc. The place that you should start, your support coordinator is going to start with you, is by identifying and having you name and talk about who you are. What are your traditions? What are your hopes? What are the things that you're looking for in life? What are the things that make you tick, that you find meaningful? What are the things that tick you off? And in crafting that story, and exploring what your vision is for your life, where you would like to go, your support coordinator is going to try to take this, there's over 1,000 qualified providers and hundreds of things that you could do in your local community, and trying to narrow that down to things that actually speak to and connect with you, or might need to be customized. And that the beauty of self-direction is, if what it is that you need and you're looking for doesn't exist, you can build it, because you've got resources to be able to do that. And so planning in a person-centered way, you don't want to pick off of a menu, which is ideas that other people have for what could exist, but instead to get something that's customized to what it is that you're looking for in your life. And historically, what has happened is when someone is offered a menu, their life starts to look like what's available on that menu, as opposed to what it is that that person really truly wants or needs for their life. So that's why we don't come to you with a menu, but we spend time finding out what is it that you want, what is it that you're looking for, so that what you are offered, the resources you are offered and connected to, are customized.
Thank you, Sherry. Again, Josh, Sherry, Marion, thank you so much for participating in this session. We absolutely appreciate your presence, not only here as part of the PPL New Jersey Self-Direction Summit, but your presence in New Jersey, working with participants and families. Thank you for all that you do, the support and the encouragement, and all that you offer to our families. I look forward to continuing to work with all of you, as do I hope, and encourage all New Jerseyans to work with these agencies as they are moving forward in self-direction. At this time, as we're wrapping up this session, I do want to, our last session is actually closing remarks from PPL, and we do hope to see you over there in that session for final comments on self-direction and what we all have to look forward to. So if you could please join that next session, we would appreciate it. And to those, again, thank you so much for joining. Have a good day.
Writing us